And now it should automatically work too. It does. Okay, okay, okay. Okay, okay. Now, whoa, 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 whoa. Do you want to start the timer? Sorry. Ah, yeah. True. Oh, yeah. What a great day it has been. What is this plus this equals... No, wait a second. Have to drop this here. Yeah, and I have to mute this here. And I have to open this here. What? Why is it lying? Can't happen. We can close that. We can open this and this and this. And this and this and this and this and this, and we're fine. No, we're live. Unbelievable. I never say goodbye to my fucking family. I'm amazing. I'm gonna do that before anything else. Give me a second. Good morning. I'm back. What? What happened with? What's up? Why did the Discord is not working yet again? Unbelievable! It's fine, I guess. My god. How can this happen consistently enough? It's fine. Anyway, we have this. We have. Okay. Yeah. Is it lying? Like, am I? I'm not dropping frames, but we're lying a little bit. So yeah. I don't know. Can happen? Question mark. The image is gonna be for today. Jeez. Oh my god! A 700. Like, this image is so high quality. Unbelievable. Like, watch this. Wow. 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 No. We're not gonna use this, not like this. Give me a second. I think it actually moved everything. Didn't it? No? Okay, it didn't. Let me change this. Like this, like this. Why do we have such a big image like browse? How big is the image? The dimensions? 1877 by 2813. What? Like, I can. The next image I use is gonna be so tiny comparison, no matter what I use. It's fine, I guess it can happen. Anyway, we have that, we have this, we have this, we have this. I think I'm ready. Am I missing anything? I feel like there is nothing to miss. Yeah, what category am I streaming on? Edit? I'm streaming on fucking gaming, I think. This is like create, go live, live streaming. Category, edit, gaming. Indeed, this is not gaming. True. That tiny mistake has been fixed. I might. Ah, yeah. I need like the phone. Give me a second. Yeah. I have too many tabs open in the phone, man. I am slowly falling back onto that bad habit. Cannot avoid it. Cannot avoid it. Let me have this. What's up, Discord? Do you have the message? Or we're gonna have some problem. Okay, you do, even if you don't have the like link display for some reason, can happen, I guess. It does matter, like it's not that it doesn't matter, but if you say so, whatever. That can just happen also. Okay, we should have actually everything now. Yeah? Almost in time for this to begin. Yeah. I don't know. I have way too much and way too nothing to say. I have to admit. So yeah, I know, we're gonna see how it goes. Good morning. I have I had the arrow on BRB, which wasn't really a lie, because I did leave for a second, so I'm fine. There we go. Hi. Is the clock is on. I think a little less loud because it's like deafening otherwise. But yeah, anyway, good morning. Yes, a good handful of days. And yeah, I don't know. This has been another interesting week. I have to admit, it's quite nice. First thing to say, in comparison, we're on the week of what week is this? Of the 17th. Like today is Friday, 21 of August. Yeah, so it has been quite a long week, but it wasn't like the other ones where I couldn't really stream because I don't know, I wasn't really feeling like it. It's not so much of a mystery actually, and yeah. This time actually, I guess it is quite enjoyable to have kind of that predisposition and whatnot. I haven't tried to understand how, why, since when that thing came back and whatnot, but it doesn't entirely matter. All that matters is that we are here. So we are good enough. Thumbs up. Also, let me do this and like, okay, there we go. And yeah, I don't know, it's basically, again, it's nice to be around. It's otherwise it's quite an empty thing without any stream whatsoever. I don't know. I can't thinking about it myself, and I feel like it's something substantially different to never at all do this. It's something weird, I guess. It's not the same. Personally, I can admit to this part. I don't think I have the same relationship in terms of, yeah, if a streamer stops streaming for, I don't know, a week, I'm gonna feel so empty. I don't really have that. Whereas, if also bike, amazing. If I myself don't stream, it doesn't really feel that great. Like, I can do that. Why not do that? So I know where the line is for me, whereas for others, yeah, I don't really tend to find much of an importance, much of a difference in any way myself, and I'm fine enough, I guess. I don't really have a problem with not being around if it is for some proper reason, as I also said. I sometimes life just takes you out for a ride in terms of maybe you have to deal with some sudden responsibilities. Maybe you have to help around. Maybe some tragedy occurs and you have to just accept that, yeah, I might need to process this, to power through this and such. So things like that can happen. But when it is possible to enjoy the things that one can do, it's nice to do that. Because in the end, I don't know, I guess it's always useful to remember the mortality aspect of existence. You never know, today we can do this. Do we have any certainty that tomorrow we can do this? Do we have any certainty that today, after tomorrow, we can do that? It's always nice to try to not take advantage in the sense of, yeah, it's so easy to exploit, simply to realize that this opportunity is available and thus capitalize on it and accept that, yeah, this is very great. We can be here, we shall be here. Beautiful enough. And yeah, it has been quite a long week, all things considered. I feel like it's quite an interesting handful of days. It has been, and it will remain so somehow. It's charming enough to see that being the case, because in the end, you don't really expect much to have that sensation either. Yet you somehow fall into that habit, I guess, into those encounters with events and such, and it's very good. It's very interesting to see how things can change around, move around, and reorder in order itself to bring something else out. And yeah, in that sense, here we are after a handful of days. Now we have not much really happening currently, but the backworks, how do you actually say it? In the background, yeah. In the distance also. In the very far away distance, slowly things are happening. And not in terms of vagueness. Like I guess I can finally slowly start to get myself accustomed to utilizing Discord like that. I don't know. I feel like I never really thought about it in this way, but in the end, if we're gonna be working on stuff and such, it's always useful to at least leave some pieces of information to show that it's not so much particularly about accountability in terms of, yeah, you're not accountable for what you do, but simply the proper admission of your existence. Otherwise, it's way too strange when we just go into the habit of never trying to, in any way, think about or figure out how to, let's say, get certain things to happen and order certain things to be and such. And it's, yeah, I will admit, not so great, because in the end, it's surprising enough to see that sometimes we live a life full of events, full of things that occur because there is an intentionality behind them, and there is a lot of effort put into making those things be, but because the action itself of announcing them, not the announcement, not so much in a sense of, so pompously, so flamboyantly, so high in spirits and such, making a big thing out of every event with the announcements of them. Simply more along the lines of the enunciation, the declaration of them being done, and such stuff like that, not existing, not being observable and discoverable anywhere in existence is quite a strange habit, something that the quietness of our current lives have brought forward, has made sure we have running most of the time for ourselves and for others, certainly. And I don't think for sure it's in any way good, but the point is not so much about the disparagement of this, also unbelievable. Can you hear that? It's, I guess, crazy enough. You can actually hear it. Oh my god. Can't you? Wow. It's crazy. What the fuck do we even do? Like, if it's gonna be that loud, for sure it's fucked up. In terms of, we cannot try to change anything around. Can we? Like, can we have any sort of filter for that? I don't think so. Yeah. I don't know enough about this thing to actually set anything up myself. Let me see. Like, how do we even try to go about that? I guess it's not so loud. Okay, we can do this. We're gonna today forcibly utilize instead of the clock, the riff. That's gonna be our solution for now. Yeah, that's how we're gonna deal with this. Because for sure there is no other way to go about it. Something like this. let's say, a little bit louder to not have it be a problem otherwise. But yeah, anyway, I was trying to say basically that, yeah, and I don't know, it's not so much about the direct, loud, outstanding, shouting declaration of what you do, but simply the enunciation of it in terms of the admission of things being the case. We get quite accustomed to just existing, not, I wouldn't say in the background. I guess you can to some degree admit to that part. It's the secondary aspect of existence of as long as I am, it's fine. I don't need to really worry that much about any proper aspects of my own life or anything like that. I get to be already, so that's good enough. So why even bother with anything that might have to deal at all with the fact that, yeah, I want to make sure that there are some sort of pieces of evidence of not my existence in terms of I want to leave an everlasting trail of me having been, but in a far simpler manner. Honestly speaking, I just want to be myself and know what has been happening in not having that exist at all. There is a certain darkness. I think I have very recently returned to this concept in the absence of any piece of evidence of what's happening every single day that passes, that you also have no access to any sort of demonstration of that yourself. It also becomes far harder to just know where you are and know what's going on and such, and it's a predicate which most of us end up being subjects of, because in the end it's fine for us to not really worry so much about anything in terms of I don't wanna waste my time thinking so deeply and so intensely about how should I mention that I did this thing, or how I went about my own existence and how I made sure that I got to accomplish this goal of mine and such. And it's not bad in itself, but for sure there are a lot of traces of, because this happens as such, then you get to see that, yeah, in many ways, as I said before, first and foremost, personally, you have a little bit of a harder time actually identifying, understanding if it is indeed your own experience or something else that somehow changed, and because it changed, maybe you're not gonna have as much of a great time now, so it might deserve to instead be mutated into something different. And it's not so simple as to just say, yeah, then I make sure that I talk about everything that I do. Honestly enough, the process of keeping a diary, a personal diary, is something worth in itself too. But I'm not aiming at that, I'm just saying what we get to have also serves that function, and making sure that it occurs as such has been great enough. And yeah, I have been enjoying it actually, and I have been seeing a lot of things move around this week, I guess. it has been quite a crazy handful of weeks in itself too. I was expecting far more differences and changes otherwise, and with many other events around my own life, I guess, and somehow things have gotten to happen. It's not exactly in the term that yeah, things have gotten to actually occur. One of the funny things is whenever you have the possibility of figuring out what you want and how you want to go about goals and specifics of that sort, there is a tiny revelation that accompanies this same feeling and whatnot, and that is what are also other pieces that go with this that might go in completely different ways. What if this I want, let's say like this, in a proper example, I want to eat some ice cream, no? What if they don't have a proper cone that is made from that sort of cookie that I can eat? What if they only have cups? Will I still get my ice cream? Probably, yeah. What if they don't have ice cream? What if I want something? But when I get there, they have no ice cream. Will I just get out of there, or will I ask for something else since I am already there and such? And in events of this kind happening in life, you get to very much see that, yeah, it happens. Sometimes life goes in incredible ways, not because the incredibleness is good, simply because it's crazy to see that some scenarios actually move in such directions, and because this happens like such, you just accept that, yeah, this somehow gets to be, and it's fine enough that it gets to be like that. It's it's the realization that many other similar events of this sort happen all at the same time, that at occasions give you a different perspective. You can, the more you hope, the more you can also start to see how many other things you could, I don't want to say you have to, you could be taking into consideration for the completion of your hope, of your goal and such. And when things move around, when the world changes its organizations and similar in great ways, even not only in a oh wow, this thing has changed, so now I find myself being inflicted with some negative effect or something like that. Not really. The certainty is, yeah, something quite funny is to get to realize, ah, wow, this is just happening in some way. So now I get to just experience this as what it is, and it's enough for me. So I can pretty much admit, okay, these things, as they all come in handy for sure, because they get to be, I shall then proceed, keep going forward, or keep developing my plan, let's say. And in such terms, then, yeah, you see, it's surprising how many of those can sometimes happen. Because, yeah, it's, one can only predict so much, one can only think out so many things, for sure, not from the sense of, oh yeah, nobody can really understand the whole of reality. I don't think it is an entirely crazy statement. I have to admit, it for sure is not something as absolutely false sometimes it's just occurs that yeah, you find yourself there in that place of okay, we have nothing, and this very same nothing is still surprisingly good enough to try and order some other things around, to try and make sure that other things get to be thanks to that, and it's just worth having that happen. And in my case, as I was saying before, yeah, I find it that somehow for sure here we are now in front of so many chances almost, not simply chances in a negative sense, but simply working on stuff, and in a very positive light actually. I am quite glad that we are getting to get many things going. As I said before, like what started this one particular goal was that yeah, for sure, we have a lot of this happening, and they have been already explained in the Discord, but yeah, I'm slowly returning to a lot of things that I previously used to do. I don't know, I think it's always complicated, if I have to admit something, it's always complicated to see what was once a habit and now has been somehow let go, because sometimes you can realize, wow, this is not something that I should have really honestly, realistically speaking, given up on, but I don't know, it's something about also the treatment of the person towards the person. It's kinda hard to understand, to approach from a honest enough perspective that yeah, some days it's actually necessary to have to, once again, honesty and also humbleness, I guess, to say, you know what, I want this thing to be. Yeah. Welcome, Crispin. I hope you're very good. I hope life is treating you well. And I don't know, yeah. I feel like in having that happen also personally, in trying to the weekend this year, yeah, we are finally, I don't know, at least for me, it's gonna be time to rest to some degree. I'm looking forward to it. And more, I will consider it rest also, like, to some degree, something about getting to do only the stuff that you actually care about, even even if it is excruciating in terms of, I don't know, I will try to take advantage of this weekend by getting to work on some more editing and whatnot, and I am, even if that is so happy enough that I get to do that, what a beauty to not have to worry about other responsibilities and other places to be in for sure and such is good enough. It's amazing enough. Even if it is business, the burden that you choose becomes far more manageable than any of those simply thrown onto you, let's say. So it's quite a nice time indeed. I guess I actually am quite looking forward to this weekend, to these upcoming days. Not just this weekend, personally, but yeah, I know. I can admit, happy enough that we actually have somehow some sort of orientation or something. So yeah, happy in the act of trying to think out how things are gonna go and such. But yeah, um, I was saying, in terms of how one tends to, I don't know, it's something complicated. Not really, because it's so much of an impossible to understand idea. It's weird. I keep feeling more and more at, at this time of life. I don't really feel bad about it, but it doesn't make it any less strange for sure to be so stranded from the rest of reality, because I feel like it shouldn't be something so, once again, weird to mention in any way. But yeah, in the ways in which one tends to treat themselves and such. Also, the neighbors stopped with the music. I am going to assume that they fully did so. So maybe we can do this. Maybe. Maybe we can do this. If they start again, we're gonna be fucked again. But for now, very well. Let me. Should we hearing that? Just in case, like nothing changed. The update actually didn't fix the problems with the audio sources somehow, but whatever. Returning to what I was saying, yeah. It's crazy to see and crazy to think about the aspect that, yeah, for some reason or another, the idea of having a more humble and not just healthy, being unhealthy might always presuppose some sort of damage in itself, but it's the best of interests. Having that sort of hope and such towards oneself is something quite useful, and I guess it still sounds like something internally I can admit. It sounds crazy because for some reason or another, that's the presupposed aspect of what we live and what we do that should always be present. It should not need in any way to be stated. Yet somehow, I don't know, I don't encounter it most of the time whenever I look out there, so to speak, whenever I have to think about what happens in the life of others or such. I don't I don't see such kinds of treatments. I it, not even in just the I am doing so much better. Even if I were to look at my own life, I don't know, some time ago, that's not present either. It's an obviously important thing, but not really something that we are actually making sure is always present when it comes to how we go about being ourselves and such. And in trying to have that, I can admit now that, yeah, this in reference to, and stuffs are slowly happening. I get to be quite happy again in that sense of, okay, we have a handful of other projects in the works, and yeah, as I said before, it's gonna be a handful of very busy days, and even if that is so, I feel like it's completely amazing to actually have that opportunity. I don't know. I I think sometimes it's quite easy to forget entirely how great it is to continue doing what you actually have any sort of interest on. I I was thinking about the expression of, I used that somewhere else actually. Getting to finally abandon everything that you used to recognize as valuable. Not because you actually have changed, simply because the eternal grass is greener mentality makes you finally leave, just to realize, okay, no, 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 no. Actually, I'm doing something wrong here. I deserve to be in this other place. I prefer much more to be in this other place. And that's not just substantial, but also incredibly nurturing to oneself. I can admit that. And yeah, I have been after that making sure that I don't know things keep going forward. I can whenever I talked out this a handful of days ago, I can also admit it's always this sort of a snowball effect also that happens. Today I wake up with the interest of getting some things to happen. Tomorrow I have already accomplished that, and I know that I can keep working on this, but I also can add up a little bit more of this other project of mine. I can also add this other idea that I always knew I had in the back of my mind and such, and to such a degree that at some point the snowball effect becomes maybe I am somehow now having to use entire hours of my day on things that I I could have always done, but I never really did them before. And now that I am doing them, unavoidably I'm gonna be happy, far more serious about being and about doing things and such, but still completely cherishing the moment unlike before. And it's always hard to pinpoint us at just one thing. You can do that, but the reality, it's not the one thing that gets to work like that. Uh, the motivation of doing things at the start time is such a wonderful thing. Yeah, yeah. I mean, I I agree with that, but at the same time, I have to admit having to live with others, in my case, having to deal with the responsibilities of something like a family, or being not having to deal with the responsibilities of a family as if I had a children or something. In terms of having to deal with the responsibilities of having to accommodate your times with the times of others and with the needs of others like that forces you to sometimes have the clear-headedness. Yeah, it didn't pick up the clear-headedness to actually have the possibility of saying, okay, I will do this whenever I can. I will make sure that this happens, and it might take quite a handful of time. Like, let's say, it might take an hour, but maybe you finally get to sit down, and at the half hour mark, somebody interrupts you, and it's getting to just let go of the negativity of, fuck, I wanted to make sure that this finished. Sometimes it cannot really happen, but getting to just work on what you like at all is much better than to never get to do that. And I don't know, it was to some degree, yeah. I think one of the other many things that did happen was we were in far more chaotic times ourselves, like this. I never addressed them in any way. I There is a family that exists, as I just said, but I never tried to mention them in any way. I think it's quite unnecessary, but for sure, it's obvious enough that you can extract from what I'm saying. We weren't really that well before, so yeah, now that we're slowly organizing ourselves far better and dealing with things much more greatly also, it's much nicer to get to return to a rhythm of my own and getting to return also to those other things. Not having to be busy just dealing with the endless parade of issues, getting not not having life be based purely on problems, and not problems which you decide to tackle, but problems that if you are to not deal with them might completely overpower you. That sort of problems and problematics and such, and it's good. Once again, it's good to have the possibility of doing things whenever you feel like they should happen, but also it also is even so. It is great that at all one gets the opportunity of working on things, even if one has to take breaks and one has to make sure that you don't really get to spend all the time that you're really hoping for because something else suddenly came up and such. Sometimes it can happen. It's fine enough. And just to get to return to that at all is good enough. It is valuable enough. And yeah, I, as I was saying, I feel like for sure the continuation of that with other things, you know. I I think yeah, we have a lot of projects going on. Finally, quite happy about that being the case. I can admit I finally found, as I was saying, this is the combination with the more simpler and more honest conversations that one should be capable of having with oneself. Sometimes it happens that we don't really want to, but it doesn't get processed in any way. I don't really sit down and try to think if I should actually abandon this or if I should actually try to improve on this. I just do things. I live the concept of living life in automatic and such. When that happens, in many cases you can go into choices that you might as well wanted to consciously take because they would have been totally different. And in such encounters, you see, wow. Sometimes I do things that I didn't really want to. Not because I act against myself, simply because I'm not thinking at all about what I'm doing. I just act based on the, as always, from what little I get to understand, the concept of sometimes you don't really get to have the possibility of saying, wow, I was just being a fool. Sadly, at times, the necessity to survive just makes you far less capable of actually taking those better choices. So it happens like that, but yeah. After that, you finally get to see, evaluate what has happened, and then correct the course of actions and similar. And now, yeah, I guess we have some things going. I am slowly returning to trying to clear most of my schedule for, as I said before, trying to edit. I guess that's slowly gonna become the main goal. Trying to get done with everything else in the meanwhile, trying to make sure that we have a proper enough amount of. I guess, I don't know, I always liked those. I feel like it's sad to see something like the social medias in general so reduced to the most well-known function and nothing else. Not that they instantaneously become that, but simply, I don't know. I enjoy the creativity behind all of that. I love something like this myself. I am quite sad when something like, yeah, Twitch equals gaming. Not always. Twitch can also be something like, I don't know, conversations, IRL for sure. Back into Fertile Soul for growth? Yeah, absolutely. Back into far more nutritive, their just to keep on growing, indeed. And like that, like the example of Twitch, there are many of such similar reductionisms present in life, and sometimes, once again, it's sad to see them be present because there is no real justification for any of those. There is no real usefulness behind them. So I wanted to get done with enough tweets to not have to worry about that for, a month or two if it is possible, and try to work on other things again, as making sure that perhaps we can finally return to something like shorts. What a crazy adventure it has been. It has been almost like 2 years since the last time we had anything like a proper schedule of shorts. It's crazy to see that. But going after it's happening now, not even later. So yeah, we're gonna see what happens. And once again, the final goal is gonna be to clear everything else so that we can continue just having to worry about being here, probably, and doing something like the video. I don't know. I think actually, realistically speaking, getting to see that, yeah, maybe I can actually finish that before the year ends, because in the end it wasn't as demanding. I have yet to finish some other parts of that. I have to yet finish the whole, what is it, the whole script and such, to understand how the narration has to go and similar. And even so, it's not a problem. I don't know. I think one of the other things that I wanted to mention, last week, at some point, if it wasn't last week, it was at the very, very beginning of this one, I mentioned I was starting finally with something like Heidegger, and I don't know, sometimes I'm amazed, not at myself. I feel like it's incredibly sad how easy it is to just get brought down, get completely demoralized by the first encounter with some difficulty. I have an incredibly hard time understanding what it says, but I can. I'm not just looking at the words in a page without actually getting any sort of message. I think I'm quite happy also with that. One of the other many factors for the presence of a happier time, I guess, or something like that, is that, yeah, you get to challenge yourself in ways in which this trial is absolute. Like, I don't know, I finish reading, I don't I don't have the capacity to read more than 40 pages, let's say, without feeling like my brain has completely shut off. But after that, after even that much of a tiredness, of an experience that you can say, wow, this has drained me. Even after that, it's valuable enough to say, to see that, yeah, it comes from a place of will. There is, you could say like this actually, there are a lot of things that happens in our lives that pass through that filter of, I'm actually choosing this. And sometimes it's a completely unrecognized aspect. And getting to have a more clear handling and more clear acceptance of that is far more liberating. Not just liberation is somehow the slogan of our current times, the saying of our modern days and such of, yeah, the freedom to eat, the freedom to choose, to fail, to such. It's right, but it's more about the actual liberation of, okay, how many things are actually happening because I'm letting them be. And sometimes one lives life way to just letting whatever gets to be. No worry, no interest in thinking about it, no desire in seeing, in asking, in recognizing if maybe this isn't really what I hoped for, what I wanted, what I said I actually required to have in front of me. I should know that this is, and that's all that there is to this formula, and sometimes it also can be, uh, I know that this is because I want it to be, and because I am willing to let it continue being. And I'm happy that it is so. I can say so, because if it wasn't the case, if this thing that now I currently have wasn't producing any sort of good emotion on me, I wouldn't be having this anymore. And I don't know, sometimes it's hard to actually try to see if we are allowing things like that or if we are just moving through life once again through the emotions of, yeah, it's whatever it can be, might be, and that's it. Having anything at all, like the whole example, the whole idea of it's better to have some friends than to have none, even if they are bad friends, because in the end, loneliness is not really all that valuable. I don't think so. I feel like along those lines, there are a lot of other permissions that we include, that we generate even into our lives, that are not at all necessary, obligatory to have to sustain. And yet we do, for some reason or another, yet we say, yeah, this has to be, this has to show itself and such, and it's not always beneficial. Mostly also nowadays, because when it happens in a absolutely negative way, you end up realizing quite clearly, quite obviously, wow, this is hurting me and quite a lot. This is this is damaging me quite a substantial degree. So I don't know, trying to get the stuff like that to continue occurring in a nice light is, I guess, currently a priority, but also, besides my personal experience, something that should be the case for most people. Yet, I don't know. I cannot really say I understand entirely why it happens. I guess I have been having a good enough time, slowly also progressing towards the comprehension of things. I must admit, I'm quite fulfilled with the acquisition of even more understanding about the world. It is always fulfilling to have that, and it is always so used to get to know even a bit more. And I, I can admit, yeah, we are uh, we are headed towards an interesting future. I guess it's crazy to think that, yeah, somehow we ended up in this timeline of, wow, yeah, we are doing something like this, we are talking about this stuff like this, we are trying to have conversations in this way and such. I I have to admit, it's amazing to know that it could have been completely different. It could have been completely much more simple or empty in terms of, yeah, there is just a far more, I don't want to say basic, because this is also incredibly basic itself, but it's that other formula of this which gets to express itself differently is far more, at least for me, I guess I can see it like that, interesting enough and cherishable. I don't know. I like seeing the world be. I can admit I like the world having so many different people, different personalities, and so many unique ideas out there. But I don't like when the normalcy behind them is just, okay, you know what? This might last for only a handful of years, for we are burning with the passion of this will consume me by the end of it. I don't know if self-destruction for the sake of the creation of something is meaningful like that. And I'm not gonna say I'm no in no position. I say this right now. I say this and mundanity. No. I think so. I think the mundane world is quite a substantial thing and quite a necessary aspect of life. I don't like the aspect of, okay, for the sake of whatever I want, I shall also sacrifice my own self. Not the confusion between self sacrifice and self immolation, basically, in order to try and shine brighter than instead of for the sake of, you know? And I, once again, the mundane stuff is a requirement. We cannot have days like this one without, on Twitter, having something like, yeah, yesterday there was here no stream. There is no good thing without a bad thing in itself, in that sense. And you cannot completely dispose of mundanity. I don't like the one-sidedness of, yeah, all that there is the simplicity of the most basic stuff, but for sure, it's not great when the formula is whatever one has, because that's what I'm trying to also partially say. The problem is it's kind of complicated to explain that. I guess it's the issue with even some beautiful stuff that happens out there that you get to encounter and such, and that one gets to experience, to be a participant of, and similar, even those most unique experiences being given through the spirit of, okay, we have to give or everything to this, and or everything means every single bit of ourselves to that. Not because I am immersed on this, because this is all that there is, and if that means that I will die 2 years from now, that's fine enough. that sort of obsession, you know? I don't know. I to some degree, I don't want to say directly scary because it's sad. That's the reality. It's quite sad to see stuff like that be present. I feel like the more acceptable aspect of, yeah, we could encounter a way to not make this just end so abruptly, so more early than what it could really be done for the sake of that showiness or something is not so required. It's something manageable through a different sense. And then, I don't know, I don't think I come really from a place of, I'm not a happy person. I'm not a cheerful guy. I I can admit that there is nowadays enough. I'm not somebody like, wow, because I want everybody to just experience happiness. I don't think that's how things work, really. I I get to express enough of that here, but that doesn't mean that getting to understand the formula has something to do with only the aspect of, yeah, I have to have that side of seriousness always with me. I cannot really let anything minimally dangerous in. It's meaningless to have that. It's crazy enough to believe that actually it works like that to begin with. I can listen, I can admit that in my own case, it's not in my own case personally like only me. It's within the very foundations of something like philosophy. If you try to read something like that, if you try to actually give yourself the opportunity of exploring stuff of that sort, sometimes you have to see stuff that is completely depressing. You have to sometimes think out ideas that if it was for yourself, you would never even think about having crossed your mind. You understand that there are some aspects of the human that by nature one gets to see. I don't even want to think about this. I don't even want to have this present. Like, same or probably in a different shade of that same expression, equal of a sentiment identified within any other of the studies of psychology also. I have to think out this. I have to actually have this present in my mind. I have to become aware of this aspect of the human being. I have to actually capture this notion. I have to now say that I have understood and I have firmly seen how this works. It's not something at all happy, but that doesn't mean that it has to be done with the utmost velocity for the sake of, yeah, we have to get there right now. We have to make sure that by the next week or so we'll ready to have results. It's crazy. Once again, I guess I can return it to what I was saying before. It's crazy to me how absent it is actually any sort of proper treatment of the person towards themselves. I feel like it's incredibly dislodged from the current notion of a self, how one tends to act. In the majority of cases, let's say, in the gross of the population, one doesn't even try to sit from that perspective of, is this really beneficial for me? It's just the action for the sake of the goal and nothing else. And it's far more consuming in almost every single meaning of the word, suddenly far more tiresome than what should really be. For I I try to always say that I am amazed actually by how much time we actually took out. It's great to know that. It's beautiful to know that. Yeah, and you can never, from the realistic side, you can never discard something like, yeah, we have so many possibilities of dying, either on an accident or in something like even as something as stupid as I felt funny and I don't know, broke my neck or something similar. The human being, even to this day, is such a feeble being. We are so fragile despite the otherwise stellar appearance of ours, but that doesn't mean that life is. You try to make sure that you get things going, that you get a good enough care of yourself, that you give to yourself that good enough care, and that you're therefore not going to last. That doesn't work like that. Sadly enough, I don't think it's sadly in any way. It's more than happily enough because in the end, yeah, now you actually get to see, now you actually get to realize there is still so much more in front of us. There are so many other things to try to organize oneself for, to try to aspire towards, to try to make sense of, in order to now finally believe in the possibility of achieving them, and therefore now therefore acquiring such goals and acquiring such desires. And I don't know, it's this weird, what I feel whenever I see out there is this incredibly weird feeling of no. Somehow we are bound to only live up to, I don't know, up to 30 or up to 40 or up to 50 or up to 60. Sometimes even you could say up to 70 only or up to 80 only. What? It's crazy to see that tension and that hyper vigilance of time and something so imperious, so necessary to have under control, so necessary to squeeze up to the last bit of an opportunity from not meaning. Because while I say that, once again, I don't know, today was incredibly busy for me, but it's somehow this other weird aspect of, it's so much easier once you let yourself have such a one-sided interest into something. It's so much easier to just completely ignore all the other things, completely tune out from all the other responsibilities that one still has, that one should still be trying to take care of. It's surprising that by being so interested in this one aspect of life, then you get to have everything else stripped away from you. Because in the end, all that you got to do was only this. Huh? Shut up, man. Welcome, say. I hope you got to. What were you trying to do? The last one? I don't even know what the fuck was the name of the last one, but hope you and Alto got to win that one. Welcome. It was easy. Most of that fucking game is easy, man. I have to admit. Oh, yeah. Raid a submarine? Good enough. What? Did you already do that? Like, I was watching and you were in like a. What was it? In like a car that was also underwater, like a fucking weird car. I don't know. 60 I don't know, man. I only fail for the content. I'm a content creator. Are you not a content creator? Don't you try to create content yourself? You have to sometimes play into it. Like, no. I'm fucking garbage. I can admit that much. I don't know. I will soon enough get accustomed to the game. I am still learning, thank you. It's okay, son. Thank you. Thank you. No, I'm not gonna say that. Stop RPing in my chat. No, sorry. We've waited for at least an hour today. Yeah, I was watching. I wasn't watching. I was watching when you were saying that. Yeah, can happen. Yeah. It's for the content. Everything is for the content. We need for the content. We need to do so much more. We need to enable people heist. That's the next goal, man. That's the next part to achieve. The next thing to happen. Yeah. Talking about content, have you thought about doing content with your life? No. Sorry. I don't know. I was trying to say something about. Give me a second because I completely lost myself. I also hydrated, so I was like, wow, time to lose focus of what I was saying. Um, okay. I know. I found myself. Yet again, for I am only trying to do that. But yeah, I don't know. It's weird to see how the interest of accomplishing something, everything else gets to slip away, and everything else gets to. In the final analysis, the culmination of all that is me, besides this one very specific aspect, gets stripped away from me because I completely lose sight of those other important things. When that operation becomes present, it's quite sad to see that, yeah, somehow we are so bound to have that happen. It's not easy in terms of, yeah, every single day of my life I have to fight with nail and teeth to make sure that I don't, I don't know, completely obsess over something. Not really, but for sure, it's crazy enough to see how somehow the formula is the one that is present the most. That or the other one of, doesn't matter. In the end, there is no importance in any other particular choice or aspect or anything. I don't know. It's apathy is, I guess, fucking incredible. Also, it's to some degree it might even be far stronger than at least the passion is in some way there, right? But the, no, nothing is really all that important or nothing is really all that necessary or useful is far worse. Because in the end, yeah, at least you believe you have an idea, even if in the end, or in hindsight, what you said was so meaningful, now you realize it's the most stupid thing, even if that is the case later on. You had something at all to completely dispose of everything. The more correct word is the nihilist spirit and such is far worse. And somehow, I don't know, I think we're not really in. I it's an admission, which it doesn't really sound that great, but I don't think it's that bad in terms of it's the reality that we live in nowadays. We're in times of incredibly apathetic people and such somehow. It's so crazy to see those things being so recurrent. It's surprising. So surprising to see it. And I don't know. I I don't think it matters at all that I get to have a mind. For me it matters, but for you it doesn't have to have any sort of importance. What matters is to get to at all decipher, even if just for a tiny bit of the process, how one gets to actually capture something like that for oneself. And that's somehow so much more absent. I I think yeah, it's gonna be a handful of years. The multiple efforts that we're gonna have to take. I don't know. I I don't know. I think actually I don't really mention most of those things because in the end I know they're gonna happen, but like I don't have a problem thinking out the future myself. I know it's overwhelming. If I tell you, okay, now do with me this exercise. Think about 5 years from now. What the fuck are you talking about? I don't know what I'm gonna eat tomorrow, and you want me to think out 5 years from now? I don't know if the next month I am gonna have a job or not, and you want me to think out 5 years from now? Do you think I have that? Yeah, do that with me. Maybe actually we can get to work on multiple projects in terms of not just a project is even this conversation right now, some proper exposition, some proper show of something else, some more proper something that exists outside of just this space, that sort of stuff, an action that maybe helps out the rest of the world as one should hope for and such. And I don't know, it's crazy enough to see all of that. Not for me, I don't know, ideas are quite attractive and it's quite useful to have the possibility of thinking out all of that and saying, okay, maybe we can actually figure out a way for that. But as I said before, I feel like it's in the other hand way too absent, way too rare to see out there. Not because it should be. I don't think fantasizing, if you wanna call it like that, it's completely fine. Having delusions, whatever, even the worst kind of expression that you wanna utilize might be useful enough to just admit, yeah, the person has the possibility, the right, the need to think out such things sometimes. And for some reason that's so absent. No, yeah, you know what? No need to think out what is gonna be of yourself 10 years from now. All that matters is the very present. Or, have you taken your daily dose of dwelling on the failures of your past? What? What? Unbelievable. Yeah. But I don't know. It's a crazy world, yes. It has always been, and it's gonna get only crazier, I guess. I feel like, for sure. Even without the participation of oneself, obviously, things keep moving. Like, there are so many things going, and all that I can say is, like, the only admission that I'm gonna make about that, thank God we're not a politics channel, because otherwise it will be such a pain in the ass to try to talk out everything that is talking about that side of the world, that side of the conversation. Oh my God, it's crazy. It's, I don't know. I don't think you are in a position to even assume that something like a third world war might happen, but I guess at least we are going to mention that as a, who knows, soon enough. Hopefully not. Hopefully, for sure, that's not going to be the case. But I don't know. These are, well, I am personally getting back into more stable times. Globally speaking, these are for sure some chaotic times, some crazily chaotic times. Even so, I mean, that doesn't make any of the other given opportunities for the human being disappear. It's crazy. I think, if anything, I can admit, yeah, something like the actual interest in something, in anything, is valuable enough already by itself to be capable of being utilized in, okay, let me see how I can actually learn out this thing that I like, learn out this thing that I have some sort of hope for, that I want to do something with and such. Even if globally we might not have all the time in the world, even if maybe it's not even a guarantee that, just with the possibility of knowing that, okay, I have the thing that I actually want myself, that I actually can say, wow, this has all the circuitries of interest in my brain firing every single time I see it, I hear about it, I get to do something with that. It's wonderful. I am yet again completely revitalized simply by thinking out that when that happens, it's majestic to see how the person actually gets to do something. And I don't know, I can say for sure it's crazy to see how absent that is from the conversation in terms of, yeah, and that should be also what you hope for, what you strive towards. But whatever, we are not gonna be disparaging so much today. I'm happy enough. I actually, one of the few admissions I can make inside that whole aspect is, at some point I realized I don't know, I was having some sort of a struggle. Like, once again, I'm not really a happy person. I found myself, I was like, holy shit, what have I been doing lately? Why am I slowly starting to, like, how will you say it? Feel like I have been exercising so much, and it was the complete loss of that sense of, not the complete loss of the sense of, in the moment of exasperation and such, it seems to be the case that for sure I have been tensing up rotundly, and it has been slowly, no, I'm not gonna say paying off, because a cramp is not a payoff, like not a gain of any kind. It just has been making itself more present, yeah. And I don't know, it's fine enough. What's the expression? If it doesn't irritate you, then there is something wrong about it. If it doesn't get a reaction out of you, then it has no value, for sure. In some way, that's right. Not when the irascible content comes from the rage bait. I guess that's the common expression nowadays. The rage bait gets made present through or with the intent of just being that and nothing else, but rather when the reaction of anger arises as your response towards some sort of controversial information. That happens. When that happens, that's fine. And when that gets to be the case, it doesn't matter. It's good enough that there is that bit of humanity left in one. Even if it isn't the most correct response, any response at all is better, once again, than none at all. And I don't know, it's strange times to think that somehow we are so stranded from all of those other encounters with oneself and such, encounters with the emotionality of the person. Yeah, it's just good enough. Yeah, good enough as, again, ways to sit here and we get to keep scheming out our own things. At some point, maybe this might get much better, that it won't just be such a limited effect. But until that happens, just to cherish all of this is good enough. And I don't know, in that same time actually, I remember trying to get back more into that. It's not really difficult in terms of the impossibility of it, but it's overwhelming, yeah. Something like gratitude is way too hard. There is way too much to say thanks for, and there is way too much to try to be appreciative of. The world itself gives a lot of things away and a lot of things for even as a lowly of a mortal as one gets to be, right? And it's wonderful to see that, but it's I feel like somehow the the idea of actually I have a mental description. I don't know how much of an accurate one it is, but if I were to be a completely apathetic person, I can continue my life even if there is not much going on, because getting into a rhythm does not have anything to do with my apathy. I can just follow a rhythm by instinct, right? But the moment I am confronted finally by the realization that, oh my god, all of things are there for me, are present in this way, are given to me, are available, are operate properly, greatly, freely, correctly, and it's all of this, all, so much of life is so wonderful from having to do that transition that might be far more overwhelming and far more overpowering than anything else. It's the moments, the people, the things, the events, even the tiniest of experiences, even the smallest of objects, all of it is in one way or another valuable, and that's far more cumbersome than to just say, yeah, my simple life is like this. To have to say thanks for all of that is far, far harder. But I'm not trying to justify not having to do it. I just have to admit, yeah, it is. It's fine that it is. It makes it even more valuable, therefore, after all. I don't know. Life is so much about sometimes getting to do what at other times would have seemed like a completely impossible, unachievable thing. It's fine. We might try to predicate, to say that, yeah, this is valuable too, even if it is draining enough. Better to be drained by that, like, once again. Better to be drained by what you want than by what you would have never even realized was draining all the energy out of you. And besides that, I don't know, I have been working once again on getting in more stuff back into the track. I think we're soon enough gonna have a good handful of days. I seriously want to get enough free time to actually organize all of that. So yeah, give me a second. Thank you, Crespian. It's always nice to have around. I have to admit, I'm quite grateful for that, and I think I tend to repeat that at this point. It's always good to see someone, in this case, you paying attention. So yeah, uh, there you go. Enough. But yeah, I don't know. I think we can actually pretty much more than certainly achieve enough for the sake of trying to see what will soon enough happen. In this case, it is indeed me. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I try to not get too parasocial. I live way too much in my own head. I know that if somebody told that to me, even if I clicked on that button, I would feel uncomfortable. Like, brother, calm down with the parasocialism. Don't get ahead of yourself. So I try to not get too much like that. But yeah, it's something about the male experience and being incapable of actually expressing proper appreciation directly, because otherwise you will feel like, I don't know, it's, you will not be playing along the performativeness of, yeah, it's so hard to say thank you for everything. The reality is thank you for everything, but I don't know, if one does not make it sound so much like there is a struggle in expressing that appreciation, then it might as well not sound so real, because in the end, somehow, the other side of the equation, there is so much to say that if it all were to be expressed in such a short amount of time, it might feel like, wow, is this true? I don't know. This is way too much to be true. Sometimes we have far more importance than what we can actually realize, and that suddenness of the revelation makes it far less useful. So, we get to have tiny moments like that. That's what matters. But anyway, where was I in? I think it was something along the lines of how having more time is slowly a priority. Not just a priority. I think it's also uh, a priority, an objective, and a necessity, in the end, it's crazy. I don't know. I have to admit, it's surprising enough how, like what I mentioned before, how consuming it gets to be everything else that has in no way whatsoever any importance for oneself. It's sad enough to see how much of a pattern that all gets to be. Not because it matters, but because, yeah, you know what? This will be just what I do. There is no. I could spend my own energy trying to figure out what I want, but maybe if I choose myself and if I go for something of my own, I might fail in doing so, and I might not really land in a valuable enough encounter or a valuable enough decision and something that is significant enough. It's not really something that I think is cherishable. It's just what the world teaches with the much. And without that, to return to, yeah, okay, honestly speaking, I prefer this other handful of things. To get to actually have that is useful, impactful, for sure, and this, once again, far more healing, far more motivating. I don't know, there is. Life is incredibly filled with choices of this sort and opportunities of this kind, and sometimes it's weird to see how inactive, how inert of a being one gets to become otherwise. Not even for the wow, I'm in a phase where I might not really have the chance of judging anything. It's just this other equation of it doesn't matter. It's not necessary. That's it. But point being, so yeah, trying to have that return to a more proper assessment is gonna be fun. Oh yeah. And I don't know. I also I already forgot that I shouldn't be cracking my bones here. Ah yeah. I swear to God, I hate this microphone. Why can't it capture everything? Like, you dare move around for just a single centimeter? Yeah. Get ready to have it on the most crisp audio. My voice, no fucking way it gets captured. At the smallest crack of R3, L4, absolutely, brother. Absolutely. It's fine. It's fine. Yeah. We couldn't go without one rage. Can happen. And I don't know. Besides that, I think there are still many other aspects to try to make sense of. I have I never have everything figured out. I tend to improvise way too much. Even once again, even this right now is an improvisation as always. So it's good enough to see that things get to, in one way or another, things get to make sense after a while. But it doesn't make the act of struggling with everything any less complicated. So we still have to try to see. I don't think I have currently, I can admit, yeah, I still prefer to not have anything like chef's choice for Serenity. Yeah. I don't. Even so, I mean, I have to admit, I don't really work well with anything like a fucking schedule myself. At best, if at some point there is a more external necessity for that, we might have that, but I myself, I don't think we're gonna return to that soon enough, probably, if necessary, if some implementation of that sort gets to be, it might be then made just to get it out of the way, get it expressed, but otherwise, between the serenity, the serendipity of existence is also so much more beautiful to also have. And those two still much far more than what can one imagine. So much of nature itself is so calming, so serene, with all the chaosness of its existence. I don't know. I can admit, if if you have to be the bird singing from the top of a tree, it's the most exhausting activity, but getting to be the person who experiences the birds chirping from far away, that's far more calming. So yeah, it's fine enough. It's fine enough. We will see. Point is, we will see, and we will organize accordingly. Things are gonna get done. Okay. Do not say anything. I can say it like this. We're gonna see some things finally happening. We're gonna. That's an specific. Sorry. We're gonna see some stuff finally occur along the lines of what used to be before, where it's not just me here, but it's not like that's not happening. Currently, we're joyful enough participating in something like the CTA, so that's beautiful. But besides that, more personal, I guess. I don't know. I feel like I have to admit, like the the elephant in the room. Do you want to address me? Yeah. The reality still is we are a philosophy, the for sure. Current times don't really have much of a philosophy in them. Behind them, there are so many stories, so many ideologies, so many schools of thought acting as vehicles, becoming the reasons and whatnot. That's true. But when it comes to philosophy itself, it's not as a conscious expression, no. So I still have to figure out something about that particularly. But otherwise, I don't know. You're gonna see. I I will try to set something up, I guess. Yeah, it's good enough. It's good enough. For sure, it's better to rattle the brain and take it up until some sort of coin in the form of an idea drops at some point. Something gets out, and contentment, yeah, far more easy to do that than to just berate at the reality that, oh no, there is nothing like this. We have all of this potential and nothing is getting done with that. It's not so meaningful actually. But yeah, I don't know. working on it, and we'll continue working on all of it. Absolutely. Oh yeah. And I have, okay, the other side of this also is, but we're not even like, we're probably at the very beginnings of this somehow. Not, okay, I know I utilize that expression way too much, and that's absolutely real. We are on the very beginnings of all of this experience of us and this wholly and specific being here, trying to do something like, I don't know, being a content creator, I guess you could call it that. It's something that I have thought about for the long run. I don't, once again, I don't like the idea of, okay, we're only gonna have one more year. What? Personally, I have no reason to say that myself. So yeah, we are incredibly early for that. But I also mean, we have to still. I finally glanced at yet another thing that I should be fixing soon enough. A handful of them actually that I should be fixing soon enough. Uh, the improvement arc, returning to healthiness arc and such. We are gonna see, we're gonna encounter ourselves with a lot more changes in that sense too. And we can only hope for even more increases in the, I guess, the life quality, which therefore impacts on everything else. Beautiful enough, beautiful enough. So yeah, it's in that sense that I also mean it's only the beginning. I don't know. Sometimes it's strange enough because in the end, it's not like I was, I don't know, a fucking unhealthy as hell person, but for sure, seeing so many changes, having so much of an impact is substantial enough. And once again, we are not really done yet. There are a handful more of those still to look forward to. So, yeah, uh, we shall organize around those too. Also, speaking about healthiness, uh, I did go out today. I forgot. I don't know. I have been way too fucking antsy about not having streamed at all before. I wanted to do it, man. I I have my interest in streaming. I like doing it. Sorry. So yeah, I think we're good enough. I I went out already for a run and I didn't even get to sleep. Like I didn't get to take a nap after returning. So no, maybe being a properly moderated person is also a healthy trait. I I will not go for 3 hours today. We're good enough. We're good enough. Good enough for now. So yeah, we shall call it a day for now. We are gonna figure out other things for soon enough. For now, we have a good enough. Do you use this word? Ampliation? No, right? I actually use it. Okay, understandable. Beautiful English language. So yeah, we're gonna have an ampliation. We have actually an ampliation of the foreseeable future, so that's good enough. But no need for far more. For now, at least. So yeah, gonna go. I guess gonna take advantage of time and take a nap before it's even later. So yeah, not a nap. Like gonna go to sleep, brother. What are you saying? So yeah, we shall make sure that that rest and depth does not accumulate unhealthily. So yeah, not much to say. No, okay, then, as always, thanks for everything. It has been very, very, very wonderful. It was a very good one. Thanks for everything. For the time, the patience, the interest, the attention. It was good. It was kino. So yeah, we shall do whatever we can. Remember, as always, to rest, to hydrate, to be happy, to work on things, to try to be better than yesterday, and hope that tomorrow you also get to overcome even more of those difficulties and such. So yeah, um, whenever you can, getting back here for sure. Tomorrow, I, I have. I mean, probably unless something unexpected happens, I should be here tomorrow. That's the proper explanation. So yeah. Um, so yeah. Until then, but even if that were to never happen again, even if we were never to see ourselves again, that's not what matters. What matters is that you can fulfill your part, which I have already described, being composed of all of those other actions, which bring far more meaning to existence. So yeah, for now is thank you. Thank you for everything. For yeah, what I already said. And now the only thing that we have left to say is bye bye.